You're creeping through a dim hallway of laboratory, flashlight flickering off the steel walls. Suddenly, a fleshy little shape skitters across your path, clacking its spider limbs. You barely register its presence before it makes a frantic leap, heading straight for your face. That's the moment your heart jumps into your throat and you realize the truth. You're about to become a walking snack for a headcrab. That's what we're tackling in today's Creature Codex. Everything that makes the parasitic predator one of the gaming's most unforgettable nightmares. Grab your crowbar and try not to panic, because once a headcrab sets its sights on you, it's already too late. A headcrab is, at its core, an alien parasite from a dimension known as Xen. Well, at least that's as far as we know. First introduced in Valve's original Half-Life, physically, it's about the size of large melon with a mix of skin and fleshy carapace on top. 4 leg-like appendages for mobility, and a gaping maw on its underside. This mouth isn't just for show. It's lined with hooked teeth or barbs designed to grip onto head of unsuspecting host. Their average weight is around 8.5 pounds or 4 kilos, making it really similar to a domestic house cat. Where headcrabs truly stand out though is their predatory strategy. They're not brute force creatures like vortigons or combined soldiers. Instead, headcrabs rely on ambush tactics. They lie in wait behind boxes, in dark corridors, or perched overhead. Their leap is sudden and disturbingly accurate. Once they detect a potential host, they'll fling themselves forward with enough force to clamp down on the target's skull. Despite their modest frame, they are more than capable of launching themselves to astonishing 10 feet, or around 3 meters. From a lore standpoint, once headcrab connects with the victim's head, that's when the real horror begins. The headcrab's underside effectively fuses with victim's head, both physically and neurologically, where upon attack they will use their beak to break into victim's skull and dig their legs into victim's upper torso. It hijacks the central nervous system, leaving its victim alive but utterly under the parasite's control. This process transforms the host into mindless, shuffling zombie, though the exact pain or awareness level of the original victim is subject of some debate among the fans. The horrifying moans might speak for themselves. Functionally, the host body becomes a vessel for the headcrab to move around in, feed, and defend itself. In terms of biology, headcrabs have surprisingly high tolerance for hostile environments, likely a byproduct of their home dimension Xen, which is full of strange creatures and low gravity conditions. They also exhibit a near insectoid need to quickly find the new hosts whenever possible and spread. Although they may seem small and somewhat fragile, their resilience and cunning make them more than a serious threat. In Half-Life 2 era, the Combine, the invading force on Earth, even weaponizes headcrabs to control or eradicate human populations. Despite seeming tailor-made to latch onto human hosts, headcrabs never encountered humans before the Black Mesa incident. This raises the question, why they're so perfectly adapted to a species they weren't even aware of. One theory suggests they're actually meant to parasitize a yet unseen creature on Xen that just happens to resemble humans physically, explaining why they'll even try to fuse with a mannequin when fooled by a similar shape. What's more, the existence of the massive Gonarch, the mama headcrab, indicates they don't actually need to zombify a host to reproduce, meaning the zombification process might be less about continuing the species and more of survival or feeding mechanism. If we consider Half-Life opposing force canon, it's possible that when headcrab bonds with its natural host for long enough, the host eventually mutates into Gonarch. Humans, however, might not share the exact biology needed to trigger that transformation, hence why we never see a human-born Gonarch. Finally, the gruesome way headcrab zombies have their abdomens torn open could be a vestigial attempt to develop a Gonarch-like birth sac in a non-native host. Since humans only partially resemble the headcrab's real targets, this reproductive pathway never completes, leaving us with the shambling horror we know as the headcrab zombie, rather than a fully formed mama headcrab. With that glimpse into disturbing nuances of how headcrabs might fit in the ecology of Xen, and how humans may only be convenient stand-in for the real hosts, we can see why these parasites remain such a lethal wildcard. Their behavior, biology, and the mystery behind their life cycle set a stage for a wide array of subspecies, each with its own unique twist on headcrab formula. From the standard face-hugging creeper to the poison-spewing menace, here's a closer look at the major variants lurking across the Half-Life series. So, let's start with the standard one. The standard headcrab is the classic face-hugging nightmare the most people picture when they hear the word headcrab. This little parasite thrives on ambush tactics, favoring cramped air vents or dimly lit hallways, where it can unleash that deadly pounce before you even have a chance to spot its rounded carapace. Although it's relatively easy to kill if you can let a few shots or a swing of the crowbar, is sudden leap out of nowhere that makes the standard headcrab so dangerous. I'm sure many veteran players can recount countless moments of checking every nook and cranny only to have one of these things latch onto their heads from above. Worse yet, if it does manage to take control of a victim, then like a host is twisted into a moaning standard zombie, a stumbling figure with torn flesh and exposed innards that rattles through the corridors. It's not the toughest enemy you'll ever face, but the sheer body horror of seeing a person reduced to the shuffling husk underscores the headcrab's true menace. It's a creature perfectly adapted to hijack another being's life for its own, turning a random bystander into walking warning of what happens if you let your guard down for even a second. The fast headcrab is like a fuel injection of adrenaline, trading in the standard headcrab cautious ambush for frantic, in-your-face assault. Its smaller, spider-like frame moves at alarming speed, allowing it to barrel down cramped hallways in seconds. You'll often hear it before you see it, a skittering on metal surfaces, maybe even a shrill screech, then suddenly it's there, lunging at you with a startling agility. This species of headcrab appear to also be one of the more intelligent ones, as they use their elongated claws to hold onto walls and corners to ambush the prey. They are also much more often seen traveling in groups, to ensure that at least one of them takes over the host. And if one manages to fuse, say hello to the fast zombie, a gaunt feral creature that bounds across the floors on all fours, howling and clawing with unnerving fervor. Whether you're trying to pick them off from a distance or fleeing for your dear life, these unnaturally quick parasites excel at putting your nerves at edge, turning even the simplest corridor crawl into a harrowing test of reflexes and courage. Zombies made of fast headcrabs also inherit their natural agility, being able to scale walls, jump unnaturally high, and ambush you more effectively than any other zombie type. Next one on the list is a poison headcrab, or as it's often called, the black headcrab. It manages to be both unsettlingly slow and devastatingly lethal. Its dark, almost black shell and bulging underside can be easy to miss in shadows, which is exactly what it wants. You'll know it's near when you hear its signature hiss, a sound that somehow both low and shrill at the same time. Unlike the blitz-like approach of its fast cousins, the poison headcrab moves with a deliberate crawl, as though savoring each moment before striking. And when it does strike, it's a game changer. Each bite is chock full of neurotoxins, and it is able to drop you to breath away from death, leaving you frantically scrambling for safety in hopes the antidote will regenerate your health. Yet the true horror sets in when poison headcrab finds a host, creating a hulking poison zombie loaded with extra parasites perched on its body. At any given moment, these additional headcrabs can leap off to assault you independently, turning what you thought was a single enemy into a swarm of lethal threats, each able to drop you to only one health away from death. The armored headcrab is only encountered in Half-Life Alyx in the time between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2, and it takes the unsettling ambush style of its standard cousin and dials it up with near impenetrable shell. This shell is provided to them by another parasitic species, a fungal growth that's also found its way from Xen to Earth. This species waits patiently in shadows, much like any other headcrab, but the moment it leaps, you'll find your bullets bouncing off the hardened carapace. Only well-timed shots to its vulnerable underside or a perfectly executed mid-air strike will put it down. Things get worse if it manages to latch onto human host. Even though it creates what appears to be a typical zombie, the protective shell effectively makes headshots worthless, forcing you to get creative with your aim. It's a tough reminder that a single difference like an armored shell can completely shift the balance of terror into Half-Life dark claustrophobic world. Another headcrab that is also only encountered in Half-Life Alyx is the Reviver headcrab, or Lightning Dog, as it's often called. It introduces a chilling twist to the usual headcrab formula. At a glance, it resembles the standard parasite, until you notice the unsettling glow, and ominous hints of its power to jolt life back into the dead. After a tense shootout with the headcrab zombie, you'd normally feel relief once it slumps lifeless to the floor, but not when there is a reviver nearby. In a flash of bioelectrical energy, the corpse is on its feet again, transformed into a rampaging revived zombie. Not only that you have to fight it again, but it's faster, meaner, and electrified. And if you manage to put that abomination down, the reviver can simply leap off, skitter across the room, and seek out another body to reanimate. This eerie cycle gives every encounter with glowing parasites a grim sense of urgency. If you fail to eliminate the reviver first, it can quickly turn a cleared room back into a battleground, blurring the line between the living threats and those that refuse to stay dead. The last and the scariest of them all is the Gonarch, often called the Mama Headcrab as mentioned previously. It stands as a living proof of just how massive and menacing these parasites can become when allowed to reach full maturity. A giant, armored headcrab towering on spindly legs, with grotesquely swollen egg sac dragging beneath its body. Its movements are slow and brutal, smashing through obstacles and hurling smaller headcrab offsprings your way. Where smaller variants rely on stealth and hit-and-run tactics, the Gonarch barrels straight at you, forcing a frantic retreats in tight corridors. It's the kind of encounter that demands every ounce of firepower and nerve you've got, transforming an already unsettling species in a bona fide boss fight. Facing off a Gonarch offers a terrifying glimpse into the headcrab life cycle, reminding you that these creatures aren't just parasites. They're the entire ecosystem of horror, complete with their own colossal broodmother at the top of the chain. Beyond the usual suspects, the Half-Life universe offers a couple of intriguing footnotes in the headcrab family. Pet headcrabs, for instance, are the domesticated oddballs that are represented by Lamar, most famously seen in Half-Life 2. Although their mouth parts are debeaked, rendering them harmless, there is still something unsettling about a creature that once lived solely to latch onto people's faces. And despite the absence of its beak, the instinct never goes away. And well, while their danger does not come from making someone into zombie, they still can derail the whole Save Humanity mission by jumping into a portal device. Meanwhile, baby headcrabs make a brief but memorable appearance in original Half-Life. These tiny scuttling horrors can't fully infest a human, but they don't need to. Attacking in swarms, they nibble away at your health in chaotic flurry. Individually, they're more of an annoyance than a threat, but let your guard down for a moment and you'll find yourself scrambling to swat away an entire brood. They might be the smallest members of the family, but there is no understating the panic of trying to fend off a wave of baby parasites skittering across the floor. Headcrabs reveals to be far more than just a typical alien monster. Its entire existence, ambush tactics, parasitic takeover, and eerie adaptability stems from a biology and ecology we only partially understand. This depth highlights Valve's deliberate design philosophy. Blend classic body horror tropes with compelling gameplay elements to keep players perpetually on edge. At the same time, headcrabs serve as an unsettling narrative device, exemplifying how creatures from Xen adapt to Earth's environment, and, unfortunately, human hosts. Ultimately, the headcrab stands as the defining symbol of Half-Life universe, a memorable intersection of sci-fi horror, evolutionary mystery, and relentless danger that will forever haunt cramped corridors of Black Mesa and beyond.